Welcome. I'm the Deadwood Jedi, and we're doing another Raid Shadow Legends video today for you guys. I'm very excited about this one. My clanmate, Napoleon Camembert, has come up with another brilliant alteration to clan boss teams. This is something that I didn't envision being even possible, but he came with a pretty smart way to go about creating another 2-1 team that I don't think we've ever seen before. I want to bring in Napoleon Camembert so you can kind of talk about the comp and you can kind of explain it to you guys. And I'm going to go ahead and show you the run in a little bit here. So let's go ahead and meet Napoleon. Okay, guys, I want to introduce you to Napoleon Camembert, the gentleman that came up with the Batman composition to begin with, using Seeker to create a 2-1 ratio. The guy is brilliant, very smart in this game. I've relied on him extensively as far as getting helping create tunes, getting advice, and just testing ideas back and forth. My clanmate, I'm very happy to have him here, Napoleon Camembert. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, Deadwood. Thanks for having me on the program.
So I know we have this new composition that you're kind of bringing out here. Do you want to just talk a little bit about what got you got the ideas rolling for creating this?
Yeah, well, the main starting point was I was just curious if I could do a 2-1 setup without Seeker, and without really any other, speed-oriented champion giving me a boost or a buff. And the other inspiration was a little bit of bitterness towards Murder Inc. for when I was the first to break 100 million. He only let me have the world record for a few hours, so I wanted to see if I could take him down.
Well, we all know Murder Inc.'s a bit of a jerk, so I feel like
Yeah.
that's only fair. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I know that was actually a pretty big motivation for you. I watched you guys talk a little bit on Discord from time to time. So how is it that you're able to do a 2-1 team without using Seeker? I mean, my understanding is you're not using Seeker, you're not using Mashal. There's no speed booster in this composition at all.
That's
Um,
right. All you need to do this, well, first of all, you do need pretty fast speeds. You just need a little trick. And to kind of explain the little trick, we should maybe explain a little bit about what's going on in all the 2-1 comps that people are using out there, what's
sure.
going on in Batman setups in particular.
Yeah, and just so you guys understand how this works, the way turn meter works in this game is basically it's broken down into ticks, right? And each tick, every champion moves a set amount, right? And that's based on their speed. And once you have a full turn meter, then you take your turn. If two champions have the same level of turn, if they both have full turn meters, I should say, then the champion with the most turn meter, whoever's faster, basically, is going to go first. And with most clan boss teams, one of the reasons why we're able to get extra turns in there, even for like a 4-3 ratio, not to mention a 2-1 or the 3-1 I did, what you're trying to do is you're trying to stretch out the clan boss turns by taking turns on the same tick. So when the clan boss gets a full turn meter, we're just trying to make sure that our champions not only have a full turn meter, but a little bit more than the clan boss. Now, if everybody's going the same speed, clan boss will take 8 ticks to take their turn, to have a full turn meter. For the 2-1, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the 2-1, everybody takes 1 tick in the beginning. So ticks 1 through 5, every one of your champions has to take a turn. And then
That's
there's a
right.
then
Yeah.
there's a
With
couple
tick
of
one, meaning that like immediately after the clan boss goes, there's a champion ready to go with turn meter, full turn meter
exactly,
immediately.
exactly. And then we wait a couple turns as everybody's refilling, and right on tick 8, when the clan boss would have a full turn meter and take their turn, our next champion is going. And so ticks 8 through 12, our champions are taking their turns, and we're stretching out the clan boss's turn. So the clan boss, instead of going every 8 ticks, we're stretching him out, so he's actually going every 13 ticks. And I'm pretty sure
That's right.
that's what happens in the Mashal build. That's what happens in the Batman, the Seeker builds.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah. So,
That's
but
right. And it would be, theoretically possible that we could have a setup going 1 through 5 and then 6 through 10 or 7 through 11. But it ends up being the best to go on ticks 8 through 12.
and that's
Uh,
because the speed requirements are lower because we're giving ourselves more time to catch up. Is that right?
exactly. Right. So that and the way to see that most easily is to focus on that kind of last champion that's going on ticks 5 and then tick 12.
Sure.
Right? Because with the setup on going 1 through 5 and then 8 through 12, we've got 7 ticks for that champion to sort of lap the clan boss. Right? They move on tick 5, and then they don't have to have more turn meter than the clan boss again until the 12th tick. So I can get into kind of what's going on. This is another setup just like the setups we have out there, where we have a 2-1 setup and champions moving on 1 through 5, and then once again 8 through 12. But the big difference is kind of how we're getting there.
Yeah,
And we're getting there
because
without Seeker's Boost.
that's the thing, right? That boost, that speed buff, those always seem kind of essential to making these types of things work.
Right. And so, it turns out they're not, but you do need pretty fast champions. And so before we get to the trick, the starting point is just, okay, how much turn meter do I need? And how fast do I need to be able to lap the clan boss, after moving on tick 5 and then wanting to move again on tick 12. So it turns out to lap the clan boss with those 7 ticks, the champion needs to have 326 speed. Right, so
Okay.
tough.
Yeah.
Not quite as crazy tough if you have Fushan or Mortu Macabre giving you the aura, then you need like 301 speed or so, depending on the champion's base speed. But if you have really good gear, that's something you can think about doing.
Sure.
Um,
I think we all get a kick out of seeing what can be done in this game,
right.
regardless. So
Yeah, I
I mean,
definitely do.
that's cool, Anyway, but that is pretty fast. So 326 or 301 with the speed aura, it's still pretty fast. But that's doable by more people than I think we might imagine.
Yeah, and especially given that you only need one champion that fast. And then the question is, okay, how fast do the other champions need to be? Right, so the second fastest champion, who's going to move on ticks 4 and 11,
Mm-hmm.
that champion's going to need 299 speed.
Okay.
Right, and you can go back from there. Right, you figure out how much turn meter the clan boss is going to have on tick 12, 11, 10, etc. And then you figure out what speed you need to be able to have more turn meter in 7 ticks.
Gotcha.
Basically, idea. We go back, and then the slowest champion, who's going to move on ticks 1 and 8, needs 218 speed to be able to kind of have full turn meter on tick 8, and also have a little bit more than full turn meter, so that they're going before the clan boss.
So we're talking
So
326, 299, 218's the slow. Everybody else is kind of dropping almost in the same kind of pattern, and then 218 is
that's
the
right.
slowest.
That's right.
Gotcha.
But there's actually a problem here when we're not using Seeker. And that comes from thinking about what's going to happen after the clan boss's next turn. Right. So as I just described it, we've got this champion moving on ticks 1 and 8, so it's taking them 7 ticks to accumulate full turn meter.
Sure.
Well, think about when they're going to be ready to move again after tick 8.
7
right?
ticks later, right?
7 ticks later, so tick 15, which is actually tick 2, if we think about the clan bosses having moved on tick 13 and kind of reset the cycle.
And so,
right?
That's gonna be a bit of an issue there.
That's right. So we want to be ready to repeat this cycle after the clan boss moves, which means we want that champion who moved on tick 1 to move on tick 1 again after the clan boss's next turn.
Right, because if they're going on tick 15, that's tick 2 of the next one. So we have to have them going first and on tick 8, and 7 ticks from 8 is not going to be first in the next turn. That's what Seeker was doing. He was giving that champion a boost to make sure they had enough turn meter to go again.
Yeah, well, Seeker kind of does 2 things, right? The thing we were focused on before is that champion moving on tick 12 doesn't have to be all that fast. I mean, relatively speaking. Right. So they only need to have 265 speed rather than the 326 speed. That's thanks to that 30% boost.
Small
and that's
difference.
That's what we thought the Batman was all about. And in a sense, that is what the Batman was all about. But there's actually this other little thing that Seeker's Boost was doing that I think we didn't really pay attention to before. And it's Seeker is moving on ticks 2 and 9.
Right.
So Seeker's putting the boost on tick 9 and helping that champion that was moving on tick 8 turn the corner to move on tick 1 again on the clan boss's next turn. So without Seeker's Boost, once we drop Seeker from this setup and we try to go batless, we're kind of in trouble. Right? That slowest champion takes 7 turns to get full turn meter, and that means it's kind of hard to fit them into a 2-1 setup that has a 13 tick cycle. Right? They're not going to move twice on their own within a 13 tick cycle. So the question is, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
and the first thought the first thought is, okay, we make them faster.
Sure.
Right?
That
So if we want them to move on tick 1 again after tick 8, well, then we just need them to have full turn meter in 6 ticks. Now, we could do a 2-1 setup where we move on 1 through 5 and then 7 through 11. It's just going to be harder, right? And in particular, the fastest champion is going to have 349 speed. So that one can work with no tricks whatsoever. It's just that 349 speed is kind of tough.
no, that's really hard. That's
Yeah, I mean 326 speed is really tough too, but it's really tougher
that
to get to
extra
349.
20 speed is it's a
Yeah,
big leap. Yes, I got you.
at those levels, every 20 speed is a lot.
Hmm.
And so I'd rather kind of figure out a trick that makes the 1 through 5 and 8 through 12 turns work. And so in the video that we're going to show here, it's Painkeeper providing the little trick, actually. And that's nice because we already like using Painkeeper in 2-1 setups with double Maneater.
100%, yeah.
And the feature of Painkeeper that kind of helps here is that 10% boost on her A1. And so what's going to happen is, without any boost, Painkeeper is going to take 7 turns to get full turn meter, and that's what's going to happen between ticks 1 and 8. But then when Painkeeper moves on tick 8, she's going to use her A1,
Hmm.
and that's going to give her a little 10% extra, and that's going to be just enough to get her moving again on tick 1, which is only within 6 ticks.
Wow. So
Yeah,
just that little bit is enough to really push her over the top.
that's right. Yeah, I mean, because it's just the difference between, moving between kind of 7 ticks to full turn meter and 6 ticks. So, you really don't need much. You can do it with a tiny, tiny boost.
Wow. Wow. That's pretty ingenious, actually. Just using Painkeeper's natural speed boost to get over that hump there.
Yeah, and we can kind of do it with any source of a boost, and so we'll talk about another one maybe in the next video.
Yeah, maybe.
Um,
Guys, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and show you guys the run here, and I'm just gonna let you guys know before we get into this. You definitely want to watch the next one because the next one is. I hope it's all right that I tease this, but Napoleon breaks the world record. We're gonna put out the highest clan boss team. He's gonna put out the highest clan boss team score to date using this style of composition, using these tricks, and using them in a different way than what we're showing today. So this is one way to do this the batless composition here, and I think tomorrow you're going to be able to see the double dragon putting up new high scores. All right, so I see we're jumping into the Ultra Nightmare run right here. We got Fushan as our lead, which is going to help the speeds. We do have Painkeeper. I see him going slowest in the double man-eaters with Rosin, it looks like, to do the damage for us. So do you want to just walk us through what's the setup is here, how this kind of begins? I know with Painkeeper you have to be pretty precise to make these work. So
yeah, what we're going to see here is actually quite a long setup, and this might not be the optimal thing. I just kind of figured out something that would work. I haven't tried to optimize it.
sure.
But something that will work is a 3-turn delay on Painkeeper's A3, an 8-turn delay on the slower Maneater's A3, and a 7-turn delay on the faster Maneater's A3.
Okay, so
It's actually going to it's going to be settled into its cycle on turn 7.
turn 7's not too bad. A lot of times these take considerably longer to do. I know the double man here, all the way up to turn 9, it can take to set up, so that's not so bad.
Yeah.
And I myself, like whenever I'm testing stuff, it's never optimized in the beginning as we're starting to figure out how this thing works, and I'm sure there's going to be a better way to at least get those man-eater unkillables and block damage going earlier. But
Yeah.
all right, cool. That's
one thing that is important if you're getting this set up is the Painkeeper's turn order or ability order here. So we talked about how Painkeeper is going to move on tick 8,
yeah.
and then it's going to need that little boost again to turn the corner and be ready to move on tick 1 after the clan boss's next turn. So you need Painkeeper using her A1 every time, the second time she moves after the clan boss moves.
Okay.
Right? So she can do that because both of her cooldowns have 4-turn cooldowns.
Mm-hmm.
So like one clan boss turn, she's going to use her A3, then A1, and then the next clan boss turn, she's going to use her A2, then A1.
Gotcha.
Right? And you need a cycle like that.
So basically, because every turn the champions are going, they're taking 2 attacks. Her second attack has to be the A1 to give her
Her
that
second attack
that
always has
boost.
to be the A1.
That
Yeah,
also means that the first attack is going to be alternating between the A2 and the A3, the heal and the cooldown reduction
that's right.
abilities. Okay, that all tracked for me. It seems pretty reasonable. So, other than those general delays, this composition, can you run it on auto, or do you
Yeah,
need to manual?
you'll see me hit auto, I think, on turn 7.
Okay.
Uh, so once it's all set up, I mean, the crucial thing is that Painkeeper has that pattern, and
Mm-hmm.
she has a pretty simple AI. So she'll do what you want, and the man eaters just need to use their unkillables when they come off cooldown. And so kind of in the same way that the Batman Eater works just fine on auto, this is going to work too.
Wow. Wow. That's pretty fantastic. So the speeds you need for this, you got 326, one or 299. What are the other speeds in there? 170 something, I imagine,
Uh,
or
no,
270
the
something.
slowest. That's right. Yeah. So just to be clear, though, the fastest one needs to be 326 if they don't have an aura. But
Right.
with Fushan's aura, I have that man eater. I think at like 302.
Okay. Okay.
But it's 326 once you've included the aura. Then the other ones are 299, and
Right.
again that's after the aura. So that man eater, I have a man eater at 270 something. That's getting
Right.
up to 299
So
with the aura.
299 with no aura, no speed boost or anything.
Right.
326 with no aura, no speed boost or anything. And then the third and fourth champion would be
272 and 245.
all right. So 272, 245, and Painkeeper I assume is 218, right?
That's right.
Okay, so those are the speeds without the aura. We're obviously running with a Fushan, so the fastest champion's actually a man eater at 302, and all those numbers are going to be lower than what we've just stated, making it attainable, one might say.
Yeah.
Because how fast is your Painkeeper in this build?
295, I think. Or
Wow,
what? Sorry, 195.
195.
uh,
Okay, so that's
yeah.
that's a lot lower speed. So that's great. So definitely, I think these are attainable speeds. Obviously, if you can make the top end, then everything else should be pretty doable as long as you can get that kind of speed lead in there. Obviously, Fushan does a lot of damage and brings a decreased defense debuff, so makes it a lot more viable having Fushan in that lead. But you can use Morty Macabre, you can use Manaya, you could use a variety of champions to kind of make this work, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Very
And
cool.
then one thing I might note about it is I think it's about to go auto here in a second.
Yeah.
Um, is that I forget exactly how much damage I do here, but it's not it's under 50 million.
Okay.
Which given my gear level, I mean I've created kind of a lot of setups that are doing quite a bit better than that. I was doing kind of one key with the Batman Eater
Right.
recently. That was my kind of my go-to for a couple months ever since Rust invented it. Um, and and this isn't doing as much, I think, largely because we've lost Seeker, and so Seeker wasn't just there for the speed. Seeker's attack up is really good, and also Seeker never kind of misses an attack.
Mm.
So this isn't necessarily something that everybody's going to want to rush to try to build. It is demanding in terms of the speeds, and if you don't have an attack up in there, it actually might not be as good as what you can do with Seeker. At least if you have Seeker, of course.
Interesting. Okay. So, I mean, I don't have Seeker, so I'm really excited about this on a personal level.
Yeah, there you go.
But you're basically saying that if you have a Batman composition, Batman Eater composition specifically, um, don't rush out to build this instead. You might be actually doing more damage with what you have as opposed to switching over.
Right. And in the next video we'll use a different attack up champion where I have been able to push the damage a bit further.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's just worth considering that damage buff is actually quite important, and Seeker that makes Seeker really good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. Let's go ahead and let the rest of this run play out here, and then we'll reconvene afterwards, and you can mention any last bit stuff, and we'll kind of tease the world record breaking run that we'll be showing next time after that.
Murder Inc., more like Murder Stinks.
Okay, guys. So I mean, you saw that well over 40 million damage. Just with rosin, really, as the damage dealer. Obviously, we got Fushan in there as well, which is kind of the change here. So that's pretty impressive, I think. Being able to do this without a seeker by itself is pretty impressive. Do you have any like suggestions for champions that we would bring in other than Fushan, or is he kind of like the best option for this type of a team, Napoleon?
Oh, Fushan for the speed aura.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I guess there's kind of two slots there, right? There's the you can do it with any champions because we're not relying on a lot of structure here or a lot of special abilities.
Right. Right.
But there's potentially the speed aura, and then there's this little turn meter boost that Painkeeper is doing. So the Fushan slot, I mean, Mortu Macabre hits decently hard, not as hard as Fushan. Um,
I'm excited.
there's
I just
not.
pulled him, so I'm excited to give that a shot for sure.
Yeah, and his aura is just as good, so that definitely makes it a whole lot easier. Other than that, I don't know if any of the other speed aura champions are really gonna if they're going to be great, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I have both Mortu and Fushan, fortunately. But I don't have Manaya. Who else is there really?
That's pretty much it. Battle Sage, I think. There's not a lot of
Yeah.
real good speed lead options, and then obviously we can bring in, Draco is the preeminent damage dealer instead of like a Rosin,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah, Razin and Fushan probably aren't the optimal there. Brachus could be great. So if you're dropping your Seeker and you're dropping that attack up, Brachus is like one of the best options
oh,
to fill
interesting.
that role, right?
Oh, because that's
Um,
right. Because Seeker brings that attack up, which is such a powerful
and you
buff,
really
really, for
want that.
this. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you really want that. So Brachus would be great there. Um, for the turn meter boost part, we've got
I'm,
Galek, Ultimate Galek.
I mean, aren't we kind of stuck with Painkeeper just to make sure that the man eaters are able to take
Yeah,
their
that's true. In a
turns?
man-eater version, Painkeeper is kind of the clear option. Yeah.
Wait, in the man eater version?
So you have a lot more options if you want to go with Santas or Rosh cards or potentially one more caster, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because those man-eaters with the Painkeeper were effectively getting a 4-turn unkillable, but we have these other 4-turn unkillable options. And once we do that, we don't need the Painkeeper, and Painkeeper is probably not a very good option anymore.
Got you. Got you. Well, guys, I mean, I think that's the best tease we're gonna get for the next couple videos here. The reason why I am doing this in these couple installments is Napoleon's come up with a couple of different versions of this, guys. A couple of different ways to make this team not only viable, as in we can do it, but also viable in the sense that we can do good damage, great damage, world record breaking damage. And that's what we're going to be showing you in the next video is his world record breaking run, which, I know that you are just super stoked about. You've been working hard on this for a while. If you guys don't know, Murder Inc. has the world record for damage currently. Number 2 is Napoleon Camembert, who held that record for what was it, a mere 3 hours before Murder decided
Yeah,
to be a jerk.
I've been passed by 2 others. If you look at the what is it, the Campfire Cult, or whatever it is with the records, there's a couple other people that have passed 100 million. So Victor
Mm-hmm.
being one of them. I forget who the other is.
Victor T, yes, he's another YouTuber and streamer. It's somebody definitely worth checking out.
Yep,
And
but it doesn't matter. I'm back on top now.
okay, that's all that matters. So I feel like I'm on top by connection since you're my clanmate now. So
That's right.
I feel like I'm there with you. Well, guys, thanks so much for stopping by. As always, it is a pleasure talking to you. Take the time, check out my socials down below. Subscribe to the video, click the notification bell, like it if you enjoyed this. The next ones aren't going to be quite as long. We don't have to explain as much stuff, so it's going to be a lot more of showing the runs and especially that world record breaking run and score. I think you guys are going to be excited about that. So till next we meet, and thank you, Napoleon, for coming on. I look forward to the next one.
Thanks, Deadwood.
All right, till next we meet, guys. I'm the Deadwood Jedi.